we're going to talk about something that's like the hardest thing for both Henry and I, sales. Henry, you are the one that put this on our docket today. Tell me why.
Yeah, sales is really challenging because I don't like to lie. I like to be super
Mm-hmm.
honest. And a lot of times when I think about sales, you almost are pressured to overpromise. Like, this is going to change your life. And I'm going to convince you that this is really a big problem. You're not being asked, hey, I'm out of eggs. I really need eggs. Oh, great. I'm an egg salesman. Here you go. Like, you the act of sales is like convincing and then oftentimes overpromising, which I I struggle with both of those. I don't like to do them, but I feel pressured into doing it, especially as an early stage founder where you don't have a lot to offer and you're trying to figure out, does my problem really exist? That's my struggle.
I resonate so much with me.
Okay.
The number one reason that Lou Mastic died was that I did not want to sell it. I didn't want to. I didn't like doing it. I was constantly giving discounts to literally everybody that like walked into our platform to be like, "Oh my God, thanks so much for being here." He was like a year for free, like, which is, it's like a bad thing. Don't do that. But I want to contrast that with an experience I've just had this week, which I think on a previous episode of the show, I mentioned that I've started an apparel.
Yes.
I started a business so that I could buy wholesale some t-shirts for myself, and ended up opening up an order form for other people, friends and family, people that subscribe to my newsletter, all that stuff, to be able to do a bulk order with me this time around. And I'm not giving stuff away for like free or negative money, which is what I did last time. I like did my little spreadsheet calculation of like, okay, this is how much it costs. This is how much it costs to acquire. This is how much it will cost in labor to fulfill the orders. This is how much shipping is, blah, 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 blah. Came out to, we're selling shirts for around $17, depending on which one you get. And to date, we have sold $576 worth of t-shirts in a week,
Woo!
which is pretty cool. Like, there's been far more interest from far more people than I had expected. And it makes sense. It's a great quality product from some ethical manufacturers, and we're giving it away for I think, reasonable price. And the reason that I feel no guilt, shame, and even excitement about sharing that number instead of like, guilt, is that super transparent, right? Like, I was super transparent about like what the upfront like cost is to me, how much this, what the unit economics are, and how much money that like we're taking home in terms of like paying Sarah to ship all these orders.
Shout out,
And
Sarah.
so shout out Sarah. And so I have no guilt on my conscience that I am swindling anybody, which is, I think, one of my biggest fears in sales, nor do I feel like I'm lying to anybody about how good the product is and whether it's worth the amount of money that it's worth, because I've shared everything, right? Like, and it's been a completely different experience for me where like I'm excited to talk to people and say like, you should buy this. Whereas like I would never, ever, ever, when I was working on Lean Mastic, want to tell them that they should have subscribed to our pro plan. Right.
Yeah.
It just like is like the pit in my stomach, right? Asking for money. Just completely different.
Yeah.
So what do you think is different, Henry? Like what feels different about these situations?
After knowing you for a while, you've been kind of circling around this uncomfortability with profit. Don't like
Mm-hmm.
profit, not really sure where it fits into the world.
I've named the company Not for Profit Apparel.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
the idea of kind of just removing that as a goal and as a
Mm-hmm.
part of the price tag, I think definitely helps you make the sale,
Totally.
right?
Exactly.
Um, when I think about businesses that have morally good goals or missions, um, I often the pessimist in me says, but the consumer doesn't care. Like,
Mhm.
I shop at Adidas. I don't really care what the unit economics are. I trust that the value that I'm, you know, getting in return for my dollar is worth it. And the fact that they recycle ocean plastics, that's enough moral good to get my dollar. Now that's just kind of a ramble. I like what you're doing and it makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm a customer, so I'm
And
on
it
board.
rewards you just.
Yeah, so I'm on board. But I think the problem of profit can't be deleted by most, right? Like you're trying to get rid of that. The problem of profit is kind of a big one because you almost have to forecast what are my future expenses going to be. Like right now, you
Exactly.
know your unit economics, but what happens if you sell 1,000 t-shirts? Like I can't really foresee how many people am I going to have to hire? Do I have to give them benefits on top of a salary? Do I have to, purchase more equipment? And so I do have some empathy for the corporations or the business people that have to sell a $7 t-shirt for $70 because it really does come down to like this projection of, okay, what's the profit I need to have? You and I might look at it and say, oh, the markup is 300%. That seems exploitative. But there are these expenses that are almost unknown that you don't want to kill the company, then you can't help anybody. So
Yep.
this problem with profit, I've seen you struggling with. I also struggle with it, but I don't know if I can just delete the problem because we need money to make the world go round, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, even in that example that you just gave, like of, oh, well, what happens if things grow and you need more stuff, whatever. I feel like I would have no qualms. Like I add the little byline to the spreadsheet, right? Like I communicate to everybody that this is how we came to the number of like how much this thing costs. And here's the new price.
Yeah.
Right. Like, which we may have to do, right? This is the first order we've done. We might find out that this is a lot more complicated logistically to do. I'm still super worried about whether I've estimated shipping correctly. But
Yeah.
but like, there's all this stuff that could happen. But I feel like if we had to make changes, I'd make the change and feel just the same.
Yeah.
Right? Like Adidas, right? Like if they published that this is exactly what it takes to make all of our stuff, and like this is how much profit we take home, which for apparel is like usually close to 50% of the worth of the garment or the value of the item. Like would you feel different? Would it be easier as an entrepreneur to sell that item? Like I don't know.
In today's age, I do think it would be easier. Like I said earlier, like transparency, I think is so important for people because they have lost trust in institutions and corporations.
Yep.
They got no trust to give. And so transparency is a wonderful long-term solution. The thought experiment that maybe we can go through live is
Let's do it.
when calculating your price tag, estimating variable costs, easy, right? Like as you learn more about your shipping costs, that can easily translate into the price tag. What happens for your company if you decide, I don't just want to do blank t-shirts, I want to screen print my own designs. And in order to do that, I need to purchase a $1,000 screen printing price of equipment. How do the fixed cost play a role into the price tag? Like how do you do that without feeling bad or exploitative or losing money? Right.
So I'll give you a real example of this.
Okay, cool.
There's the cost of the garment from the manufacturer. For one of the shirts, it's $11. There is a fixed cost of a flat rate shipping from the manufacturer to get to me. And that cost is around $28. So how, when I was making the spreadsheet, was I to distribute this $28 flat fee that does not change depending on how much we sell?
Yeah.
I mean, it does if we sold like astronomically more, but we weren't going to get there. We were going to be in the $28 band. Um, yeah, if I sold 50 t-shirts, that would be whatever 28 divided by
Yeah, sure.
yeah, so,
I'm with
yeah,
you. This is
like
a small fixed
100.
cost. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a small fixed cost, and how do I like distribute that evenly amongst the customers? And basically, the thing that I came out to is that um, it comes out of the byline that is mine and Sarah's labor. So,
Really?
so if we sell more shirts, we per shirt make more money in that labor area. I don't know if I would do this for larger expenses, but this is the example of how I've done it now. Um, and so then the incentive with us, right, is, you know, sell more shirts to decrease the amount that we lose, right? But there's not the reverse, which is we factored in some like flat rate amount to everyone, which I did think about doing, of just like an average, how many do we expect to sell, which I think would also have been fine. But just
Okay.
for my own conscience, and because it's the first run of us doing this, I was like, whatever. I'm basically doing this for fun. We'll
Mhm.
eat the 28 that isn't covered if we don't sell enough shirts.
Yeah.
But we like way, way, way outperformed like that cost of shipping. So like I'm happy.
Okay.
But
Cool.
again, yeah, if I had to pay for an $1,000 screen printing machine,
Yeah.
right, like I'd have, I don't know. I feel like that goes down to an estimate of like what's how many customers does it feel reasonable to pay for this, right? Like, is it 500? Right?
Yeah.
Like 500 shirts, right? So the first 500 shirts will pay for the screen printing equipment. The rest will pay for maintenance. Like, I don't know.
So
I
that
think,
almost requires, maybe we don't call it profit because that sounds bad to you, but like almost like a fee for growth, like a little bit of money that we're going to charge you for every
mhm,
product that we're going to save. We're not going to pocket, but we're going to save for if we want to expand our product offering or add a sticker to every
exactly.
box, right? Like,
Yeah. It's an, like, there's an investment fund,
yeah,
reinvestment fund baked into the
yeah.
thing, which is profit. Like, I'm not in denial that
Okay, all right.
that is profit. Like Ghost, the company I talked about a couple weeks ago, the CMS that I really like, that's a nonprofit. They make a profit at this nonprofit. It's just that in a nonprofit, all of your profit is reinvested back into the mission of the nonprofit. No one
Yeah,
gets to take the money home, right? And so I'm not anti-profit. Profit is just a word that means the money left
yeah.
over after exploitation. You know,
Okay, okay.
the you're right, exactly. It's what is done and what is the percentage of, again, back to our earlier conversation. Are you maximizing gain, right? And
Yeah,
maximizing the profit gained, or are you trying to minimize harm, which like you can think of a very, very little harm as like charging your customers more than you have to.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
This is such a hot topic. Um, I enjoy chatting about it. Whenever I kind of get into this idea of, profit, it makes me think about wealth accumulation, which makes me think
Mhm.
about income inequality. And I think,
Yes.
you know, our country, the United States, is doing so much right. Like we're leading the world in so many areas. We have our own challenges, but I think our one of our biggest challenges, at least, in the cities, is income inequality. I think
Mhm.
that's a serious driver, and addressing it is hard. I like seems difficult. Seems like we need some powerful leadership. We need regulation. We need, activists. We need a lot to
Yeah.
combat it. But so many issues are downstream, I think, from that. Um, so more companies like your t-shirt company make the world a better place.
Exactly. And if you want to hear more about how to become one of these companies that is striving for more economic justice in the world, subscribe to Just Business over on YouTube. Henry, thank you so much for another great episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you're listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.